So Trumpcare has failed. The American Health Care Act is no more. Democrats are going crazy. They're treating it like some big victory for them, even though everyone knows it's not. The Republicans did this to themselves. Today I'm going to talk about what happened and what Republicans need to do in the future if they hope to get anything done for the American people. Welcome to Let's Play the News, the series where we break down the news of the day, accompanied by footage of some of your favorite games. So despite their best efforts, Speaker Paul Ryan and President Donald Trump ultimately failed to get the Republican support that this bill needed to pass in the House of Representatives. President Trump held out his hand to the GOP and said, after 7 horrible years of Obamacare, this is finally your chance for a great plan. But the Republicans did not get on board. They refused to take the offer hanging right in front of their faces, and now they and the rest of us have to live with Obamacare for the foreseeable future, according to Paul Ryan. Yesterday, Paul Ryan had to be the beta bitch boy, hashtag beta bitch boy, saying in a press conference that basically that they had no excuse to offer the American people. He had 7 years to deliver on a bill, and basically he couldn't close the deal. And he praised the president. It's not the president's fault that this happened. The president did everything he could possible to get this bill across the finish line. He said they came really close. They were like 10 or 12 votes short of passing the bill. They came really close, but they just could not get it done. I mean, I said yesterday the goal is to repeal and replace Obamacare, so you work with that. As long as Obamacare, that's the goal. I mean, that's what everyone wants. So you work with that, and then you amend the bill on a later date without the president's involvement. When the president gets involved, everyone needs to follow. Democrats did it with Obamacare. They all fell in line. President Obama himself led from behind, sort of, but they all knew what they needed to do. They were on the same page since day one. GOP needs to do the same thing too. But instead, they just blow the whole thing up because they don't like certain parts of the bill. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Part of the blame, if not all of the blame, lies with the Koch brothers, who pledged millions of dollars to the campaigns of the representatives who voted against the American Health Care Act. And they also threatened to spend millions against the Republicans who voted for the bill, too. And Koch brothers themselves have been huge backers behind some of the major conservative causes, and they don't like Trump. They don't like the president, period. The president is someone they can't rely on to carry their crazy conservative agenda. He's a imperfect vessel. I mean, ideally, these guys want the U.S. to look like 1950s America, and they spend millions and millions of dollars to get their goals accomplished, and they're filthy fucking rich. They're filthy fucking rich. So they're pretty much in control of the conservative wing of the party. If you don't do what they say, your career in Washington, D.C. is over. At least if you're a elective representatives. They have major, major influence in electing conservatives to Congress. And the other thing I talked about yesterday is that Republicans they don't understand the concept, the theory really of incrementalism. Just because this bill wasn't a conservative's wet dream, that doesn't mean it can't be morphed into it over time, over a period of time. Social Security in the 1930s and 40s looks almost nothing like it does now in the 2010s. It took decades to basically form that policy into what we know now as a pillar in our society. Food stamps, another example. They were originally conceived and implemented as a subsidy for farmers who were having problems getting their food to the market. Government would basically pay them for the food and distribute it to needy families, and it didn't really come focused on those needy families until very, very recently. Even the policy TANF, which has been around for decades, the temporary aid for needy families, has changed so many times. And it changes every time uh, new people come into power. It's just one of those policies that are morphed and modified depending on if we have a Republican majority or if we have a Democratic majority. And it's important for the GOP to understand the policy process like the Democrats do. I keep saying this, and I'm going to keep saying it. The goal for yesterday was just to repeal and replace. You have what you wanted, and you keep working on it, and you keep hammering it. All right? So many sayings like, Rome wasn't built in a day. You don't need your perfect policy on day one. You need to compromise. You need to coalesce. You have to give us something. It doesn't always have to be all or nothing. It doesn't always have to be all or nothing. Sometimes we, the American people, just want fucking something from Congress. We just want something. But the GOP has always been like this, the grand old party, and in a way that's why they are the grand old party. Look back to the Civil War and Reconstruction era. They've always been a factionalized party. They've always had different and diverse ideas within their own ranks. Democrats are not like this, however. For better or for worse, Democrats have always stayed together. They've always had a singular strategy in mind. And sometimes that strategy is just to obstruct Republican progress. You saw that last week with Judge Gorsuch. Great guy, great record, but we must obstruct him because he's not our guy. He's got the GOP label on him. He comes with a GOP tag. So we got to obstruct him. They had their Leahy, Feinstein, Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee. They had their marching orders, and they laid into him. They did a really bad job, granted, but they still did what they were told to do by the party leaders. Democrats more resemble a machine than they do a political party. If one of the cogs of the machine doesn't do what's told, they're blacklisted, they're done. Even a progressive hero, Bernie Sanders, had to be reminded of his place in the overall machine. He had this massive movement. It looked like for a while he was going to change the world, to be honest. It looked like he really had something. He had so much backing on social media. It was insane. But even he was convinced to, threatened, coerced, and ultimately had to give in to what the party leadership wanted, the direction the party leadership wanted to go in, and that direction was Hillary Clinton. And you saw that really sad endorsement during the Democratic National Convention, and so many people my age, millennials, just crying, and we thought you were different, Bernie. Why would you do this to us? And he did it because he was threatened. If he didn't get in line, he was going to be a political nobody for the rest of his life. This is how he saved his skin. This is why he's still somewhat relevant nowadays. Democrats are flexing their muscles now. They're treating this like a big victory for the party and for their overall cause. But we all know they had nothing to do with it. We all know that. Inconsequential in the entire decision. Republicans never elicited for Democratic votes, and they didn't need to. You saw publicly yesterday when the president was making his own statements on the bill from the Oval Office that he blamed Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, rest of the Democratic leadership. And yeah, he blames them publicly, but who do you think he blames privately? He blames Paul Ryan and House Republicans. Because this wasn't a decision for the Democrats. They had no choice in the first place. GOP didn't need their votes. This is a loss for Ryan. This is a loss for House Republicans, not the president. Ryan came up short. The president moves on to tax reform. Clean as a whistle. Tax reform is something Trump, Republicans, and the Koch brothers all agree on. It's going to be paraded as this huge victory. Democrats are going to look like the sad, sorry sacks of shit that they are. But if I could make a suggestion, maybe Speaker Ryan shouldn't be allowed to get up in front of a microphone this time. Maybe we just shouldn't have his face attached to tax reform. If the Republicans want it to succeed. Because you can't have the healthcare parallels to tax reform. Because people are going to bring it up. People are going to bring it up. How will this affect midterm elections? As long as they get tax reform passed, I don't think it's going to hurt their chances. I think the Democrats, with their recent decisions, by not embracing Bernie Sanders, by not embracing that young progressive wing of their party, I think they already pretty much disqualified themselves past 2020. Yeah, so I don't think there's going to be big losses. You always see some loss when you have a Republican president, Republican House. Americans don't like to have one party controlling both executive and legislative branches. So they typically like to keep them balanced. So yeah, you always see some losses. But that doesn't mean the whole thing has to turn over. In a way, this is good politically for Donald Trump. He gets to distance himself from the failure of the American Health Care Act. He made that ultimatum on Friday. We either repeal and replace it now, or we move on to tax reform. That was a very strong statement. That was very good leadership. And then when the whole thing implodes, when the whole thing spirals out of control like everyone's saying it will, he gets to say, well, I was right all along. Now I'm going to pick up the pieces. Now I'm going to give you something better. And he'll have support across the board. I guarantee it. Aetna came out and said last month that this thing's a mess. Everyone says it's a mess. Fucking Bill Clinton during the campaign couldn't help himself but criticize it. Premiums are going up. You can't deny it. I saw some supporters of it on Twitter saying, well, premiums were always going up. They were going up before Obamacare. So they're going to continue to go up. So even supporters of it, people who like it, are admitting that healthcare in general is in a big fat hole. It's going down. So let's say it tanks by fall. September, October, November. Let's say it tanks by fall. Trump and the Republicans come to the rescue. They're golden for 2018 and 2020. They're golden. President Trump tweeted earlier today, Obamacare will explode, and we will all get together and piece together a great healthcare plan for the people. Do not worry. So unfortunately, country's got to hurt a little to get there, but President, very strong statement saying, we will get there. Don't worry. So I'm hopeful, very hopeful. Disappointed. I thought the American Health Care Act was the solution. I really did. I thought it was going to have trouble getting off the ground, like a lot of these policies do. But I thought once the executive was implementing the policy, they could do a lot in phase 2, phase 3 to make this a better deal for everyone. The CBO really torpedoed this early on, which was unfortunate, but I truly believe it would have been a good deal once you had the executive taking control of it. I was excited for it, but I guess I'll have to contain my excitement for the foreseeable future until we can get a bill that works for everyone. I'm going to go ahead and end it there. I want to know what you guys think. Was the American Health Care Act the solution? Who are the winners and losers here? Am I right to call Speaker Ryan the hashtag beta bitch boy today? Even if you don't agree with my analysis, tell me why. Let's get a conversation going. Let's get a discussion going. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more content. I like doing this. I think I'm hitting a pretty good stride, and I think I've got a lot to say, and I'd like to keep doing this. Thank you so much for watching. That's it for today, and I will talk to you guys next time.